My friends, welcome. Yours truly, Rockin Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Thank you so much for tuning in. We happened to get rained out this afternoon. And boy, I tell you what, we were going to try, really we're going to try to push it, setting up over at for our gig this afternoon. And Deb and I decided to walk back to the car. You know, it's looking cloudy. We're checking our radar. It might rain. It looks like it is, 80% chance, but we don't see anything happening. It was around 10, about 1:45. We were supposed to play from 1 to 4. We figured out, well, we'll start setting up now. And then as we're setting up, we didn't bring a whole lot of gear. So then we'll just, let's see how everything, turns out. We walked back to the car, and then Deb says, I want to plug my phone into my charge, and I want to look at this radar and just see where it's at. Well, we're sitting in our car, and now it's about 5 minutes to 1, and all of a sudden, here comes the rain, little by little, and all of a sudden, boom. And we looked at each other, we're like, oh, I don't think we're going to be setting up for the gig. So, we contacted the lady that runs the events for Miramar Outlets, and, we always like to communicate with people, to let them know what we're going to do. So we sent them a message, and first we said, yeah, we were going to try to get the gig in, because yesterday we couldn't because it got canceled because of rain. Now, right now it's looking nice, and actually, up here in North Fort Myers, it wasn't looking too bad. So Miramar Outlet is about what's in a town called Estero, and it's about maybe 24, 25 miles away, maybe almost 30 miles away from our house. But you'd be surprised, that distance can make a huge difference with the rain. And yeah, it was coming down, and boy, did that ground get wet. I mean, it just got really soaked. So here we are, and we are going to show some of my strategies on some of the ideas that come up with my songwriting. So right now I'm plugged the Cordoba directly into the Boss RC5 looper pedal and directly into the RC110. It's really a keyboard amp, but it's dubbed as also like a PA. We got a new flexible mic camera stand. So that's what I got. You might see a little bit on the angle, like the old Batman TV shows, bang, bam, pow, a little bit on an angle. But I wanted to do that because sometimes my other stand, camera stand, doesn't really angle like this. This thing angles real good. So this way you can kind of see what my hands are doing. Now, when I'm doing finger style, it is sometimes hard to see what my fingers are doing. It can still be a little bit, but usually I'm using my 3 fingers for the tremolo. When I do what's called the roscados, I will flick my fingers out and then come up with my thumb. I actually do it backwards from what is being taught, but this works for me. I've had people ask me why I use mostly the nylon string guitar. Is it easier on the fingers? Well, a little bit easier on the fingers. I got hard tension strings on, but it's mainly for the tone. With a nylon string guitar, if I want more of a sharper attack with, now just using my fingers, obviously I would play toward the bridge. When I want a warmer tone, I would just play over the sound hole. And then if I want to have a more expression between the bass register and the treble, I pluck right over here. What this does is it creates a voice. It creates your phrasing. It adds to your phrasing. It's part of your dynamics. Now I'm playing very subtle there, but it's to emphasize a certain emotion. When I want something to come out more strong, now of course that's with the fingers. Now with the pick, it's a little bit different, and it's a little bit different with different gauge picks. When I'm playing on the nylon string guitar, I'm going to using a .88 millimeter. Obviously, I dropped down from a 1.5 due to the fact that I was constantly popping strings. And for the electric guitar, I did the 88 millimeter, and sometimes I would still pop strings. And then I saw a couple of videos on the Dunlop, the yellow picks. They're flow picks. That's what actually this is a flow pick, but the other one's called the Flow Flex or something like that. And it's a .73 millimeter. And I'll tell you what, dropping down from a 1.5 gauge down to a .73 millimeter gauge pick does take a lot to get used to. I'll tell you that. However, I don't break strings, and number two, I could create very unique dynamics that I couldn't normally do with a harder pick. And I started noticing that. I thought, whoa, wait a minute, this changes everything. But for the nylon string, I don't have to worry about popping strings, so I do got the .88 millimeter. But when I'm doing more of my subtle playing, it still comes out. So you can hear that. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to turn down my volume so you hear it just off the acoustic. So I think because the strings are nylon, they already have a warm sound. So they tend to lean more toward that subtle. It's very easy to play subtly with a classical guitar than it is with steel strings. Not to say that you can't do things with steel strings, but there is a difference. Now I'm bringing my volume back up. Part of my practice routine, besides my scales and my picking exercise, when I put in the title here on the post, I did mention about my musical practice exercise, basically. And what that is, some people want to call it noodling, but it's only noodling if you're not paying attention. If you're a little bit focused and you're trying to see what ideas you come up with, then it's not really noodling. What I'll do is, part of my practice routine is playing musically. It means your slides and your dynamics. A lot of times I'll use arpeggiating, true arpeggiating. This is also arpeggiating, but you have overtone, you have ringing. While the true arpeggiating is actually playing more staccato, where the notes are not going to ring over one another. Now you can do the fast sweeping, it's okay. But there is something that I started noticing more and more and more when you're playing melodic. The speed bursts, they work as what I call accents, at least for me. They work as accents, and they come across more authentically, because in those moments of those accents, it's meant to be right there, boom, it comes out. It comes out just the way I want it, you know? So it has its place. But for playing melodically, what I notice, if I'm always playing fast, I really don't hear a value of a note, because the note does not have a chance to breathe. And even with a classical guitar, there's a little bit of sustain. Obviously with electric, there's more sustain. But with a classical guitar, or a regular steel string, you don't have the luxury of more of a sustain as much as an electric guitar. So sometimes you'll have to strike the note more to carry it. When the note starts to decay, then you want to, meaning the note's going to die out. Just carry that over. John, what's happening, brother? Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I got this up here. Jeffrey, what's happening, man? Good seeing you. I'm just going to hang out a little bit for maybe another, 40 minutes or so. And basically, what I'm doing is just showing basically how I come up with these musical ideas and my strategy that works. It works for me. Let's see what. They've been here, yeah. So here I'm coming out of a G minor chord shape, adding the ninth with degree, which I'm adding the A. Doing a hammer on pull off to A sharp or B flat, same note, to A. Sliding B sharp or A sharp, to C, coming back to A sharp or B flat. And now forming the chord form for A sharp major 7, which consists of A, F, D, and A sharp, which is kind of interesting. You have an A sharp here, but you have an A natural right there. So the form I'm coming off is this. So I'm going to kind of improvise a little bit here right now so you guys can get an idea of what some people might consider noodling is actually you're in the creative moment there, in the creative state of mind, and you're seeing where the notes are going to take you. And this is one good way of coming up with song ideas, because you're actually putting it together. Actually you're playing, you're making music. Stuff like that. And sometimes they'll just come. Sometimes they don't come as strong, you know. But you won't know until you sit there and actually play. This is the difference between just playing scales and your practice routine, your exercises, whether you're doing your picking exercises. I mean, they're all good to have, so you can get, control of everything. But you also have to practice musical statements, phrasing. That's why, at least for me, the slow playing and the speed bursts and fast playing, they have to coexist with each other because they work off of each other. It really comes down to making music. It really does. And I know sometimes in the past when I listen to some of my earlier stuff, and I'm talking early stuff, it was cool, it was great, but it just had like one dimension. It didn't have this wide, open, dimensional playing. And I think that's the only way I could describe it, is when you play musically and you use all elements, not just one, you're actually starting creating music, because music to me is a reflection off of human emotions. And not everybody is excited all the time, nor is everybody sad all the time. You have all these different emotions that play out even through the day, So it to me makes sense as an instrumentalist that because this is my voice, all my emotions got to come through here to tell the story. And it doesn't necessarily have to be anything super fancy. A lot of these chords I'm playing are very, very simple, even when I'm doing my finger picking. It has to be effective. And I think that is the one thing that could be really challenging to teach in a book rather than in person or on a video, because you actually get a chance to hear what it actually sounds like, because you're hearing it. I was watching a video earlier. I mean, a couple of these guys, I forget their names now. Martin Taylor, I think one's guy, and Robin Nolan. They were talking about, this style called gypsy jazz, which goes back to, I want to say maybe the late 20s into 30s and the 40s with Django Reinhardt. And the guy, I think his name was Martin Taylor, was talking about, when you practice scales, and let's say I'm going to take a minor scale here. I mean, you can practice that. But at some point, you have to understand, how do you make it musical? Now, he was talking about chromatics. But I know what he was talking about. How do you bridge everything together? Meaning, where you don't have these gaps like you would if you're practicing scales. Because when you're practicing scales, there's not much of a gap there really, but it sounds very exercise. Like it's a very, like, sounds very much like an exercise. So how do you make it sound musical? Well, you change things around. Sometimes you will repeat one note for a few times. You mix it up, the pattern a little bit. Slide a little bit, you'll slide to the next note up here. In this case, I'm going from G to A, a little vibrato. But see, I'm hitting the note a few times. Now, even though that's an arpeggio, I'm trying to make it sound musical. Slide up to it. So it doesn't sound like it's a routine. It sounds more like it's a conversation. So how do you tell a story with notes? This is interesting because one of my friends, a musician, I don't play with, but we did a couple of shows together, but we had played at the same time. You know, I'd start and then he comes in after me or whatever. And he was asking me one time, because he's a vocalist and guitarist, he said, how do you write instrumental music? Because, you know, for him, he's coming up with chords. And he'll write lyrics around it. And that's basically his melody lines around there because he's actually singing. So the words tell the story. So he asked me, well, how do you write instrumental music? And yeah, you can write it in notation or you can tab it out. But the most common way is just to get your recorder and start playing. And help, you know, so you can help remember your ideas. So I basically told him that's how I do it. But what I try to do is what feeling do I get out of these notes? And what do I think about when I'm playing them, you know? Or when I hear the playback, what does it remind me of? And basically, you know, for me, like right off the top of my head, I could come up with something like a place and time. You know, that's what maybe what comes to my mind, what I kind of envision in my head as I'm playing it. So it's got kind of a poetic title. But what helps carry it as a song, besides a good poetic title, is your melodies. Because when you think about it, when people are singing, other than the words are singing, the notes happen to be very melodic. And that's my approach. Everyone's approach is going to be different, and none is better than the other. But this method, for me, works fantastic. And that's why I really like it. To me, I like it the best. Because it's so natural for me. I'm the type of person, if I got to think about something too long, I lose the feeling for it. So therefore, it's like, okay, I'd rather do this than the thought process behind it. And I'm not knocking it. It's great. There are times when I do sit there and kind of analyze it. But to me, and this is only for me personally, If the analytical side wants to override the creative side, then I'll shut down the analytical side immediately, because I do not want to lose my creativity side. To me, that's what keeps everything alive. It takes on a life as all its own. Doesn't mean I'm better than anybody. I'm not better than anybody. It just means that's how my approach is. It also helps with your improvisational skills. What they call noodling. And the reason why I say that is you might not. It's good to record what you're going to come up with. Just hit the record and start playing. But it doesn't mean you'll be able to duplicate it exact unless you really analyze the emotional aspect behind it. And then you try to duplicate that. Another thing that I'll do is when I'm going to arpeggiate something, I'll look at it instead of a very linear, meaning low to high and high back to low. I'll skip notes, and it kind of creates a little bit of uniqueness. And then your hesitations, like what I just did right there. Subtlety there. A little speed burst, but I try to play it with a little bit lower dynamics. And when I want to express something very demanding. Now, when it comes to the debate of tone coming from your hands, that is very much so. Now, it does not mean that some of these guys who try to debate that, when they say, oh no, your tone comes from your amp or your pickups or the speakers, they are right. They are right. Because everything works together. But do not neglect the idea of tone coming from your hands, because if you don't touch the strings, nothing's going to happen. So you have to, obviously, touch the strings. And it's how you touch the strings. And how you hold the pick, and how your pick attack is on the string. How you pluck. It's kind of a hard thing to describe when you really think about it, because if you're asking someone to give you a straight answer on how do you create phrasing in your own voice, in a nutshell, it literally comes down to a nutshell of an answer. What straightforward answer would be: play the way you feel at that moment, and record yourself all the time, and play yourself another time when you feel that way a moment, and watch and listen to the playback and understand that. Why does it sound different? If I'm playing the same thing, why does it sound different today than it did last week? You might have felt a little bit more mellower, and therefore, when you're a little bit mellower, you're going to tend to strike the strings a little bit softer. But understand that those both approaches to playing, you need both of them, and just build on all that. See, even right there, it's not. It could be that's as straightforward as an answer as I could really give, because the reality is, when people ask those type of questions, my response usually is, okay, when you laugh at a joke, the very first time you heard that joke, your laughter, if you were to record yourself laughing at it, is going to sound different than if you heard that joke for the third, fourth, and fifth time. So that means you're changing, your emotions are changing right there. It's the exact same thing with playing. And I think sometimes it gets kind of neglected in the teaching process, but I try to do the best I can by explaining it. It's the human element of playing. It's the human element. It's the human side of us. It's not just an analytical or scientific thing. There's much more deeper than that. And that deepness, or what people say, playing your fingers, making the tone, that is the magic that makes the music. It's not really necessarily the pickups or the pedal, the amp or the strings or it's what you're doing with all of that. That's what really makes the difference. And your note choices. That went off right there. Now we'll turn the volume down again so you hear just the acoustic guitar. You know, I saw a video ad with John Petrucci and his wife. They're doing another guitar summit or master class or guitar camp. And I think it's a great idea. I think it's really cool. I'm glad the wife said it doesn't matter where you're at and you're playing. You could be a beginner. You could be a beginner kind of struggling on something, but still a good idea to get in there. Here's the thing that will intimidate people. You get in a room with a bunch of shredders, and maybe that's not your thing, even if you can play. And right away, you might get the feeling like you're insignificant. And I'm not saying because they're doing it on purpose or anything like that, but you might get that feeling. What you have to remember is simply this: none of those people are going to be able to pull off what you could do exactly the way you do it. None of them, because they're not you. When it comes to making absolute music, that's got to be at the forefront. Because like I said earlier, my earlier stuff, when I'm shredding away, man, I loved every minute of it, but when I listen to the playback, if I play the exact same notes slower with a little bit more emotion behind the note, there's something magic that happens there. And it could be just because I'm getting older. We're all going to go through the aging process. I saw an interview with Tommy Emmanuel admitting that, well, he cannot play right now what he used to play before, because of the aging process. Everyone, as we get older, our bodies change. It's natural. So how do you reinvent yourself? Let's say you're a young shredder right now, and it's something to consider because you're going to go through this. So picture yourself 20 years from now. It's not just playing those notes. You got the energy, you got the oomph to it. Your outlook is different now than it's going to be 20 years from now. That's why when you see these people playing, that's only 20 years. Wait till it turns into 40 years. When you see people playing their stuff, it's a 40th anniversary of let's say Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force album came out. When you listen to the album, and if those of us who've seen him in concert back then, and then again with the videos up there too, you notice it's different. His approach is different now than it was back then. It's not that because it's one part because he's older and your body starts to slow down, but I think the most important thing that happens is you start to grow and you start to see all these other possibilities of playing those same notes, that now you're understanding, hey, instead of playing it super fast, why don't I just play it subtly there to make the statement, and then if I want to, come in with speed burst, then there you go. That same song that was 40 years old, you kind of have new life into it. Now, it doesn't mean everyone's gonna like it all the time, or it doesn't mean that. But you see, you have to like what you're doing. When you lose one set of crowd, you grab another, you gain another set of crowd. That's just how that is. But my point is you're gonna approach things different as you get older, and what happens is you start to, at least for me, I start to realize, man, I could get so much out of just that one note, so much statement out of it. So that's why I do the things I do now, and it's also like paying homage to my guitar buddies back in the early '80s. We have these jam sessions, and it wasn't just about shredding, although we did a lot of that, man. We did a lot of that. Wow. But it was also about, playing musical. Now, another thing I want to show you, and this goes back to the arpeggios. I remember practicing the C major arpeggio chord, adding the E. And that's fine. But then I started doing this, breaking it up. I thought, okay, I get it down, I get it packed down fast, it's gonna sound bleep blop, that's cool, But how else can I make it sound interesting? So I started doing this. Okay, I'm actually, oh no, hold on, yeah. Kind of like repeat, don't play the whole thing, but play it in sections and then repeat, and then drop off a low note, pick up a higher note, repeat, and so forth. Kind of like what I did with the E minor. Now here's something with the, your pentatonic scale in your fifth position. I call it the box scale. I started messing with this. Let's see. Just have it sound a little bit different and see what I could come up with. Sometimes you have to do that, And if you have a little bit of trouble with the coordination, you just work with it. What happens with me is that if I don't like the way something sounds, after a while I'll shelve it. And when I was younger, I would practice a lot a lot of different patterns and different ways, and would think, well, then I'll be able to do like this, then I'll be able to play like that, and I'll be able to this, and I'll be able to that, and incorporate the tapping, and incorporate some of the sweeping, and incorporate this, incorporate that. And it was all fun, and it was great. But then I started analyzing, do I really deep down like what I'm doing, or am I doing it because to show that I could also play like that? So I started realizing, like, well, wait a minute, if it's really not for me, there's nothing wrong with it. Let someone else do that, and they could do it 100 times better than me. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But that's them, and and let them do what they want to do. After a while, as you start to get older and then get more experience in your guitar playing, you can realize I'm playing guitar, but am I making music? And that's, to me, the number one thing. Can you make music? I guess my approach to this is because of when I was starting out, when I was younger, my dad would listen to a lot of motion picture soundtrack albums. It was all instrumental, it was orchestrated. So to me, the music had to tell a story, and all points in between within that story. So when I started playing, I'll never forget this. And I started on nylon string guitar. I was very, very blessed and fortunate that our teacher, that was in grade school, it was a group lesson. She would have us strum these chords, and I'm going to take on minor chords. And we do these exercises. So we get the feel of the rhythm. And then she started showing us songs that we had to play in the assembly hall. But just that initial start of, because you have to learn how to play the chord shapes and things of that nature. And we had these exercises. And she would ask us, okay, how does that feel? She meant how does the coordination feel? I know that was one aspect that she meant. But I look back and I'm thinking, well, I wonder if she also meant how did that feel emotionally? What do you think about when you're playing this? And I know some people would say, wow, it kind of sounds like Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd. And yeah, it does. But I don't really think about other music when I'm playing something. I'm thinking about what does it sound like to me? What do I hear out of it? And I was always curious like that. So for me, that's how it worked out. And throughout the years of playing, now 50 years, throughout those years, when I look at everything, the thing that stands out the most is the emotional aspect of playing. And that's with everything, with my rhythms, with my melodies, with my soloing. What I find today, what has been working for me the most, is playing a little bit chilling out music, but yet I could still kind of rock out, and then I could still lay low, and I have all points in between. So it's no more of learning a whole bunch of techniques and then trying to show that I can play all these things. It's more of, does it fit what I'm trying to say? I saw a real quick interview with, and it's obviously an older interview with, how can I forget the guy's name, man? Aerial Boundaries. He had the album. I'll think about it 2 o'clock in the morning, then I'll go live just to give his name. Those acoustic guitars. See what I mean? As you get older, you forget. Anyways, he was being interviewed, and they asked him, well, why did you choose the guitar? You know, he says, well, I'm not trying to play the guitar. I'm trying to make music. The guitar happens to be the instrument I'm playing. And I thought that was a very spot-on answer. The guy's name is at the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember that. He had the album Aerial Boundaries. And he died, I think, in the 90s. Motorcycle crash or plane crash, I can't remember. He got dubbed as part of the New Age acoustic guitar genre, but he was very inventive with the tapping on the body guitar, on the body of the guitar. It's gonna bother me. His name's gonna bother me now. Michael Hedges, that's his name. I'll tell you what, man, sometimes all I need is just a guitar, man. Now, this particular model does have, it's a Cordoba, has a built-in mic. Actually, a mic hangs inside here. And it has a volume, so if I bring that up all the way. And the tone, how can I describe it as eerie, you know? Because since it's inside there, the notes ringing out inside the body of the guitar. Now I'm going to turn the mic volume all the way up. You can only hear it from acoustically, but notice there's no reverb. Bring that up. Kind of cool. Sometimes I'll use that. The only thing is if I have the fan blowing on me, sometimes it'll just blow in the air, and then you'll get the, obviously, because right there, and you'll start hearing feedback. But other than that, it's a nice guitar, man. The strings I have on here are D'Addario hard tension. I'll go back and forth between extra hard tension and this hard tension. I think I've tried these only one time, this set of D'Addario carbon fiber strings, and it's only because I had them there, and I was kind of impressed by them, and I might go back to getting a pack of those. Now again, when I turn the volume completely off, now you're picking up just the acoustic guitar. I'm going to bring the volume up, and I'm going to have the mic volume all the way off, the mic that's in here, and it's just a piezo pickup. Not bad. Now I'm going to bring the mic volume all the way up. That's not bad, but if I bring the mic volume to 12 o'clock, so right there in the center, now we're going to hear, we should have just as much of piezo as the mic volume. I kind of like that right there in the middle, and just I could take down the mic volume when I need it, so when I'm outside, or I could bring it up when I need it for a certain body tapping and that. But all in all, that's what I like about the nylon string guitar, because I could do so much with just this one guitar. I think I could do a lot more than I can with the electric guitar. However, what I could do with the electric guitar, I can't really do with this. Whether I have the whammy bar or not, it's because with the distortion and the overdrive, this doesn't sound too good with all that. But other than that, you can't really bend strings on here. Not like on a steel string, you could really hold those bends. So what I'll do here, I'll do slides, and it works out in my benefit. It actually gives me a little bit more of creative ideas because it's different, you know. Anyways, my friends, that's gonna be all for today. I think I'll do some more videos kind of like this, showing my creative side, and maybe I'll do some more videos where I'm talking less and just actually in the zone playing, so you get an idea. And I think, honestly, that's the best way to kind of capture how I come up with ideas, or really anyone comes up with any ideas. All right, my friends, until we will be live on Friday. We're supposed to do the art walk outside again. Hopefully we do not get rained out. We are in our rainy season. We had our gig scheduled yesterday, and it was at the same place yesterday, the last day of May 30th, and today, June 1st, at the exact same location. So on the May and the June months, it's like our rainy season. So okay, hopefully we'll get through our gig next week. But I'll keep people posted. If not, then maybe we'll do something live. We are on summer break now. It feels great. I'm so proud of my students that graduated. I had a lot of kids graduate from 5th grade. I had some graduate from high school. I was able to check out the 5th grade graduation ceremony. I was very, very proud of them. Very happy for them. So, yeah, you guys totally rock. Have a great, great summer for all of you out there. And like I said, we'll keep you posted when I go live next. If I don't do between now and Friday, we should go live Friday. If we get rained out, I will definitely let you know. Okay, my friends, keep on creating. Rock on. and God bless. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.